Athens, June 1978. Passengers board Olympic Airways Flight 417, a routine night service to Tripoli. The Entebbe crisis ended 2 years ago. Rashid Abdul-Aziz Qasim settles into seat 14C, orders champagne, and exhales. 3 rows behind him sits a flight attendant whose uniform doesn't quite fit. Her name badge reads M. Levy. In her pocket, a vial marked K17, a delayed-action neurotoxin designed to mimic cardiac arrest. The poison activates at altitude, not on the ground. Kasim will feel safe until descent begins, then his body will shut down mid-landing, his death timed to Libyan airspace, where questions die with answers. This is Operation Silent Isle. Miriam Levy was born in May 1948, 3 weeks after Israeli independence, in a Tel Aviv hospital still converting from British military use. Her childhood wasn't remarkable. Middle daughter, fluent in Hebrew and Arabic by age 7, unremarkable grades. The formative moment came in September 1972. She was 24, working translation at the Foreign Ministry when Munich happened. 11 Israeli athletes murdered. The photographs in the briefing room, methodical, clinical, horrifying, stayed with her. When Mossad's recruitment office contacted her 6 weeks later, she didn't hesitate. Not from vengeance, from clarity. Someone had to do this work. What made Miriam operationally valuable wasn't physical capability. She stood 5'4", learned firearms, but never excelled. Her gift was interpersonal camouflage. She could adopt mannerisms, vocal patterns, and the micro-behaviors that signal trustworthiness within minutes of contact. Former instructors described her as forgettable in the best operational sense. You'd trust her with your boarding pass, your drink order, your confession, then struggle to recall her face an hour later. By 1975, she'd run support operations in 3 European capitals under 4 different legends. Each time, she vanished without trace. Her defining skill was proximity management. Most operatives excel at distance, sniper hides, dead drops, surveillance from across streets. Miriam's specialty was closeness. She could invade personal space without triggering alarm, establish intimacy without memory. Mossad psychological assessments noted, subject demonstrates advanced capability in trust exploitation with minimal emotional residue. Clinical language for a rare talent. She could make you feel safe while ending your life. After Entebbe in July 1976, the world celebrated. Israeli commandos rescued 102 hostages from Uganda in a raid that redefined counterterrorism. But inside the Mossad's headquarters on King Saul Boulevard, the accounting was incomplete. 4 hijackers died at Entebbe. 3 escaped. One of them, Rashid Abdul-Aziz Qasim, Palestinian, age 31, slipped through Kenyan borders into Europe within 72 hours of the raid. By October 1976, Sijgint traced him moving between Athens safe houses and North African cells under weak cover. Identities. He wasn't planning operations anymore. His value had shifted. He was a symbol. Symbols recruit. Symbols fundraise. Symbols inspire the next attack. Intelligence services had tracked Kasim for 18 months. He appeared in 6 intercepted communications, always referenced indirectly. Surveillance photos from Athens showed him meeting with 3 separate networks. None of the meetings produced actionable intelligence. He was cautious, mobile, and protected by sympathetic governments who saw no benefit in cooperation. By March 1978, Mossad's research division, responsible for targeted operations, concluded Kasim represented a threat multiplier. Not imminent violence, inspiration for it. The authorization to act came in April 1978, signed by the Prime Minister under Protocol Caesarea Directive 7814K. Mossad called this the deniable distance strategy. The logic was straightforward. remove threats without creating diplomatic crises or martyr narratives. Arrest exposed intelligence sources. Extradition required cooperative governments Israel didn't have. Public assassinations triggered retaliation cycles and international condemnation. The doctrine prioritized methods that created temporal and evidentiary separation between action and death. The body fails. Doctors attribute natural causes. No headlines. No martyrs. No diplomatic fallout. 3 obstacles made conventional approaches impossible. First, access. Kasim never stayed in one location longer than 4 days and moved through countries with hostile or indifferent security services. Penetrating his inner circle would take years. Second, method. Any visible trauma, gunshot, stabbing, blunt force, would trigger autopsy and investigation. The death had to appear medical. Third, attribution. Even deniable operations leave patterns. Repeated mysterious deaths around one individual create suspicion. This had to be singular, untraceable, and operationally silent. Commercial aviation solved all 3 problems. Cabin crew had legitimate proximity to passengers, routine physical contact during service, and plausible reason to be forgotten. Flights offered controlled environments with limited medical resources and witnesses who dispersed immediately upon landing. The key innovation was timing. Traditional poisons work immediately. Immediate deaths on aircraft trigger investigations, quarantines, and forensic scrutiny. A delayed action agent, one that activated metabolically hours after administration, could ensure symptoms appeared during descent or after landing, in jurisdictions with minimal investigative capacity and maximum incentive to close cases quietly. The trigger to move from planning to execution came on May 3, 1978. SIGINT intercepted Kasim's travel arrangements. He'd booked Olympic Airways Flight 417, Athens to Tripoli, departing June 14th at 2000 hours. Non-stop service. 3 hours, 40 minutes. Limited crew. The flight terminated in Libya, where Gaddafi's government would have zero interest in investigating a Palestinian's sudden death aboard a Greek aircraft. Every variable aligned. The planning window was 42 days. During initial operational planning, Miriam experienced what Mossad psychologists call identity fracture. She'd run 7 legends before Silent Isle. Each time, slipping back into Miriam Levy felt natural. But as Station Iris, the safe house outside Haifa where flight attendant training occurred, consumed May and early June, something shifted. She started correcting Hebrew grammar in her mind, as if Hebrew were her second language. She dreamed in the clipped German accent she'd perfected for M. Levy. In a routine psychological assessment on May 28th, she told her handler, "I keep forgetting which parts of my biography are real." The handler noted it. Headquarters cleared her anyway. The mission window was closing. Operational necessity outweighed psychological risk. She understood. She continued. Intercepted communications from May 17, 1978, reveal Kasim discussing his daughter's 8th birthday with a cousin in Amman. He mentioned saving money to visit her in August. Analysts noted nothing operationally relevant. The transcript included one detail. He'd promised to bring her a music box from Europe, the kind with the spinning ballerina. When Flight 417 landed and Kasim's body was removed, no music box was found in his luggage. Whether he forgot or never purchased it became a question without answer. By June 12, 1978, the operation entered its execution phase. Miriam's Lufthansa legend had been backstopped into Olympic Airways personnel files through a Greek Mossad asset working in airline administration. Uniform, credentials, and crew manifest all confirmed M. Levy assigned to Flight 417. The window was 48 hours. Everything depended on her walking onto that aircraft as someone she'd never been, to kill someone she'd never met, then disappearing before either identity could be questioned. Cover identity M. Levy was built over 6 months, starting December 1977, longer than the operation itself required. Mossad's theory: legends fail under stress when they're memorized rather than embodied. Miriam didn't learn flight attendant procedures. She became a flight attendant. Training at Station Iris, a converted Bauhaus villa outside Caesarea, included 80 hours of aircraft service protocol. She practiced beverage service until the motions, tray balance, cork removal, glass presentation, became muscle memory. Forged Lufthansa training records dated back 3 years, complete with performance reviews and route certifications. The German accent required daily immersion. Native speakers tested her weekly. By March 1978, they stopped finding errors. Equipment was minimal by design. Complexity creates failure points. The toxin vial measured 3 centimeters long, disguised inside a modified lipstick tube bearing Revlon branding. The tube opened from the bottom, not the top. The champagne seal was standard commercial foil, pre-loosened and re-adhered with food-grade adhesive that left no residue. A Rolex Oyster perpetual watch, modified with internal barometric sensor, tracked cabin altitude. When pressure indicated cruising altitude, approximately 35,000 feet, a subtle vibration alerted Miriam. Total equipment footprint, items any female flight attendant might carry. The team structure followed Mossad's compartmentalization doctrine. One handler operated from Athens under diplomatic cover at the Israeli consulate. Codename: Shepherd. His role: monitor communications, confirm Kasim boarded, and receive execution confirmation. One chemical specialist remained off-site in Israel, never briefed on operational details, only on toxicological requirements. The specialist knew nothing about aircraft, Athens, or Kasim. Miriam was alone on board. 3 people. No one knew the complete operation except the director of Caesarea Division. Isolation reduced leaks. It also meant if Miriam failed, no backup existed. K-17 was not a Mossad invention. The compound originated from Soviet research into metabolic time delay agents, obtained through a defector in 1974. The designation K-17 was operational shorthand. The actual chemical structure remained classified. What made it valuable was predictability. Administered orally in liquid solution, it passed through the digestive system inert. Metabolic breakdown in the liver, triggered by specific enzymes, activated the neurotoxic effect. Time to activation: 90 to 120 minutes, depending on individual metabolism and food intake. Symptoms mimicked cardiac arrest, respiratory depression, arrhythmia, vascular collapse. Toxicology screens wouldn't detect it unless specifically searching for organophosphate metabolites, a test Libyan medical examiners had no reason to run. The flight number, OA-417, was selected for duration. Too short, the toxin activates before landing, triggering emergency protocols and potential diversion. Too long, variables multiply. 3 hours 40 minutes provided optimal window. Kasim would ingest the compound during initial beverage service, approximately 30 minutes after takeoff. Onset would begin during descent preparation, when cabin activity increased and medical attention appeared routine. By touchdown in Tripoli, he'd be unresponsive. Libyan authorities would find a dead Palestinian with a heart condition aboard a Greek aircraft. Greece would defer to Libya. Libya would defer to natural causes. The body would be released to family. Case closed. June 13, 1978. Miriam arrived in Athens on a commercial flight from Rome, traveling under her real identity. Standard practice. Keep the legend clean until the last possible moment. She checked into a modest hotel near Syntagma Square, made no contact with Shepard, and spent the afternoon reviewing mental checklists. That evening, she walked through Plaka's narrow streets, ate dinner alone, and returned to her room by 2100 hours. Sleep came poorly. Not from fear, from anticipation. She'd trained for proximity kills before, but never executed one. The theoretical became operational in 18 hours. June 14th, 1978. 0600 hours. Miriam woke, showered, and transformed. Hair pinned in regulation Olympic Airways style. Makeup minimal. Uniform pressed, name badge aligned. By 0830 hours, she met Shepard at a cafe 3 blocks from the consulate. He passed her a leather folder containing crew documentation, the modified lipstick tube wrapped in tissue paper, and one additional item, a backup vial, in case the primary broke. "You won't need it," he said. She took it anyway. They didn't speak again. Shepard returned to the consulate. Miriam walked to Olympic Airways crew quarters near Athens International Airport. At 1300 hours, Miriam entered the crew briefing room. 5 other flight attendants, 1 purser, 2 pilots. She signed the manifest as M. Levy. No one questioned her. The purser, a Greek woman in her 40s, assigned positions. Miriam drew aft galley service, rows 10 through 18. Kasim's seat, 14C. Perfect proximity. Too perfect. Luck or planning? The answer was planning. Shepard's consulate asset had accessed Olympic's crew management system and adjusted assignments 3 days earlier. Miriam didn't know that. Compartmentalization meant she experienced it as fortune. Pre-flight procedures consumed 2 hours. Safety checks, beverage cart loading, meal tray verification. Miriam moved through each task with careful normalcy. Not too efficient, that draws attention. Not too slow, that creates friction. She matched the rhythm of the crew around her, laughing at their jokes, complaining about scheduling, embodying M. Levy so completely that Miriam Levy receded entirely. At 1700 hours, passengers began boarding. Miriam positioned herself at the aft galley, arranging champagne bottles in the service cart, waiting. Kasim boarded at 1742 hours. Miriam watched from the galley. He wore a light gray suit, carried 1 small leather bag, and moved with the casual confidence of someone who'd evaded death before. Seat 14C, aisle. He settled in, opened a newspaper, and ordered Campari from the forward attendant. Miriam noted his drink preference. Mixing alcohol increased metabolic processing. That would accelerate onset. Good. Complications emerged immediately. A family with 2 children, father, mother, infant, toddler, occupied row 13, directly in front of Kasim. The toddler screamed during boarding. The father asked Miriam for extra blankets, milk, anything to calm the child. Increased visibility, more witnesses. The operational window narrowed. Miriam smiled, provided blankets, and recalculated. She'd deliver the champagne during initial service, when movement was expected and attention diffused. 2000 hours. Flight 417 pushed, back from the gate. Miriam strapped into the jump seat, watch on her wrist, vial in her pocket. The aircraft taxied, engines spooled. At 2014 hours, they rotated. Athens fell away beneath them. The climb to cruising altitude took 18 minutes. Miriam's watch vibrated at 2032 hours, 35,000 feet. The seatbelt sign extinguished. The purser announced beverage service. Miriam stood, moved to the galley, and began the kill sequence. The service cart concealed one modification: a false panel beneath the ice drawer, accessed by pressing 2 specific points simultaneously. Inside, a second champagne bottle, identical to the dozen already loaded. This bottle's foil seal had been pre-loosened. Miriam removed the standard bottle from the visible rack, placed it in the false compartment, and retrieved the modified bottle. The swap took 8 seconds. No one watched. Galleys are background spaces. Flight attendants inhabit them invisibly. She broke the seal at the cork, careful to preserve the foil appearance. The vial of K-17 fit inside her palm. She uncorked the champagne. Standard procedure, let it breathe. And in the moment between cork removal and glass prep, she inverted the vial into the bottle. Colorless, odorless, tasteless. The compound dispersed instantly. She poured 2 glasses, one for Kasim, one for the passenger in 16A who'd also ordered champagne, and resealed the bottle with the foil pulled tight. The backup seal was perfect. No visible tampering. At 20:48 hours, Miriam pushed the cart down the aisle. Professional smile. Champagne? She used Kasim's name softly, checking her manifest as if confirming preference. He looked up, nodded, and she handed him the glass. He thanked her in Arabic. She responded in Greek. No extended contact, no memorable exchange. Routine service. She moved on to 16A, delivered the second glass from the same bottle, clean, untainted, and continued down the aisle. Total interaction time with Kasim, 14 seconds. She returned the cart to the galley, secured the modified bottle in the false compartment, and disposed of the vial casing in the trash compactor. At 20:51 hours, she stepped into the lavatory, removed a small transceiver from her jacket pocket, and coughed twice into the intercom system. Service reset. To passengers, it sounded like routine crew communication. To Shepard, monitoring from Athens via encrypted frequency, it meant delivery confirmed. At 20:53 hours, Miriam returned to the cabin. Kasim had consumed half the glass. Good. More than sufficient dosage. She moved through rows, serving passengers, refilling requests, performing the role so thoroughly that when investigators later interviewed crew and passengers, not one person would clearly remember M. Levy's face. The waiting began. 90 to 120 minutes. She tracked time by monitoring Kasim peripherally. T plus 20 minutes. He finished the yao. Champagne, ordered Campari, consumed it. Alcohol accelerated liver metabolism. T plus 45 minutes. He reclined his seat, closed his eyes. Normal passenger behavior. T plus 62 minutes. 21:54 hours. Miriam walked past row 14, offering water service. Kasim's pupils were dilated. Early onset. T plus 78 minutes. 22:10 hours. His breathing had changed. Shallower, slower. He shifted position twice, discomfort beginning to register. At 22:30 hours, the captain announced descent preparation. Seatbelts, tray tables, standard procedure. Miriam collected cups and blankets, moving through the cabin. When she reached row 14, Kasim was slumped against the window. The toddler in row 13 had finally fallen asleep. The father turned, saw Kasim, and called out, "Excuse me, I think this man needs help." Miriam approached calmly. "Sir, are you feeling ill?" No response. She checked his pulse. Weak, irregular. His breathing was labored. She called for the purser over the intercom, using the code for medical emergency. The purser arrived, followed by another attendant. They moved Kasim into the aisle, laid him flat, checked vitals. One passenger identified himself as a doctor, a cardiologist from Thessaloniki. He administered CPR. Miriam stepped back, allowing the professionals to work. Her role was over. The doctor worked for 12 minutes. At 22:47 hours, he stopped. "I'm sorry. He's gone." The purser contacted the cockpit. The captain announced a medical emergency on board, requested priority landing clearance in Tripoli, and informed passengers a man had suffered cardiac arrest. Oxygen masks were not deployed. The aircraft was not diverted. Everything proceeded according to protocol. At 23:02 hours, Flight 417 began final descent. Miriam remained in the galley, ostensibly preparing landing procedures. In reality, she was invisible again. The crew focused on the deceased passenger. Other passengers focused on their own discomfort. Death on board creates ambient anxiety. No one noticed Levy securing bottles, stowing equipment, performing routine tasks with the mechanical precision of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. 28 hours. The aircraft touched down in Tripoli. Emergency vehicles met the plane. Libyan medical personnel boarded, examined Kasim's body, and removed it on a stretcher. Libyan security questioned the purser briefly. Cause of death: apparent cardiac arrest. The purser provided the passenger manifest, incident report, and the cardiologist's statement. Security accepted it without challenge. A Palestinian dying of heart failure aboard a Greek aircraft in Libyan airspace presented no political utility. The investigation ended before it began. Miriam disembarked with the crew at 23:55 hours. She walked through the terminal, passport stamped, uniform intact, identity unchallenged. Crew. Transportation took them to a hotel near the airport. Miriam checked in, went to her room, and waited. At 0200 hours, a knock. A Libyan contact. Mossad asset, unaware of Silent Isle's specifics, but briefed to extract Levy. He drove her to a private airstrip outside Tripoli. At 0430 hours, a small aircraft, civilian charter, no flight plan, lifted off, heading northeast across the Mediterranean. By 0612 hours, June 15, 1978, Miriam landed at a covert airfield in Cyprus. Shepard met her. No congratulations, no debrief, just confirmation. It's done. She handed him the uniform, the credentials, the watch. Everything that made Levy real. A car took her to a safe house in Larnaca. She showered, changed into civilian clothes, and burned the last pieces of the legend in a metal trash bin. By noon, she was on a commercial flight to Tel Aviv, traveling as Miriam Levy, returning from a weekend holiday. The operation consumed 18 hours from boarding to extraction. Levy existed for less than 1 day. Kasim's death certificate, issued by Libyan authorities on June 16th, listed cause as myocardial infarction. By 0800 hours, June 15, 1978, Libyan authorities understood a passenger had died aboard Flight 417. Greek officials contacted Olympic Airways headquarters. The airline issued standard protocols. Incident report filed. Crew statements collected. Passenger family notified. The cardiologist from Thessaloniki provided detailed medical observations, all consistent with sudden cardiac arrest. No autopsy was requested. Kasim's body was released to family in Beirut on June 18th. He was buried the following day. Lebanese newspapers reported his death in 3-sentence obituaries. No mention of foul play, no investigation. Every investigative lead ended in procedural dead ends, suggesting either extraordinary luck or extraordinary planning. Greek authorities reviewed crew manifests. Levy's documentation appeared legitimate. Lufthansa confirmed her employment history, forged records Mossad had inserted 2 years earlier as contingency. Olympic Airways found no irregularities in her assignment to Flight 417. When Greek police attempted to locate her for routine follow-up questioning, she'd vanished. The address on her personnel file was vacant, her telephone disconnected. Olympic Airways filed her as AWOL and closed internal review within 2 weeks. Israel maintained absolute silence. No diplomatic cables referenced Kasim. No intelligence chatter suggested involvement. Western intelligence services, CIA, MI6, DGSE, noted the death, cross-referenced it against known operatives and methods, and filed it under probable natural causes. The tradecraft was clean enough that even professional paranoia found nothing to pursue. The denials were transparent to those in the intelligence field who understood Mossad's capabilities. But transparency wasn't the point. Plausible deniability doesn't require belief. It requires the absence of proof. The tactical objective was accomplished. Rashid Abdul-Aziz Qasim, symbolic figurehead and recruitment tool for 3 separate Palestinian networks, was eliminated. Intelligence gained included secondary benefits: confirmation that K-17 performed reliably under operational conditions, validation that commercial aviation remained vulnerable to insider attacks, and proof that Mossad could execute targeted operations in third-party sovereign airspace without attribution. These insights informed operational planning for the next decade. The costs were measured in 3 categories. Diplomatically, no immediate consequences materialized. Greece never confirmed Israeli involvement. Libya never investigated beyond cursory protocols. Relations with both nations remained stable, which was itself a success metric for deniable operations. Operationally, the mission revealed tradecraft elements that forced adaptation. The use of commercial aviation for toxin delivery became a known Mossad method among counterintelligence services. Within 18 months, airline security protocols, particularly crew vetting, tightened across European carriers. Future operations would require different approaches. The human cost was quieter. For Miriam, the consequences were psychological and professional. Mossad shelved her from deep cover operations for 14 months following Silent Isle. Routine psychological evaluations flagged persistent identity dissociation symptoms. She reported difficulty maintaining personal relationships, describing interactions as performed rather than experienced. Handlers noted she'd begun speaking Hebrew with slight German inflection, a residue from the Levy legend. She was reassigned to analytical work, then training instruction, before medical retirement in 1983 at age 35. Official reason: chronic stress disorder. Actual reason: proximity kills leave residue that doesn't wash clean. For Kasim's family, the consequences were definitive. His daughter in Amman never received the music box. His network fragmented without leadership. 3 planned operations collapsed without coordination. Whether those operations would have succeeded or caused casualties remained unknowable. Mossad's assessment was that Silent Isle prevented future bloodshed by removing inspiration before it ignited action. That calculation assumed Kasim's symbolic value outweighed his right to judicial process. A premise Israeli leadership accepted without public debate. The operation reinforced doctrinal shifts within Israeli intelligence toward timed, deniable actions in constrained environments. Immediate kills create evidence. Delayed methods create confusion. Confusion creates deniability. This logic informed operations throughout the 1980s and 1990s, from Dubai to European capitals, where targets died of apparent natural causes days or weeks after contact with unknown individuals. The pattern became recognizable to professionals, but remained unprovable in courts. It also accelerated security countermeasures. By 1980, European airlines implemented enhanced crew background checks, biometric verification, and compartmentalized service protocols designed to prevent insider threats. Ironically, Mossad's operational success reduced its future access to the very methodology Silent Isle proved effective. The window closed behind them. Was Rashid Abdul-Aziz Qasim a terrorist who evaded justice, or a political actor denied due process? Those who argue prevention say his past actions at Entebbe forfeited legal protections. He participated in hostage-taking that endangered over 100 civilians. His symbolic presence recruited operatives who would kill again. Removing him saved future victims who will never know they were saved. From this view, Silent Isle was surgical, one death preventing dozens. Those who argue against extrajudicial killings say no state should weaponize trust in civilian spaces. Commercial aircraft are implicit social contracts. Passengers trust crew. Kasim trusted champagne service. When governments turn routine interactions into execution chambers, they corrode the foundations of civil society. His crimes, if proven, deserved trial. His death aboard Flight 417 was murder dressed in operational necessity. State power unbound by law. The answer reveals more about your worldview than about intelligence doctrine. If you believe threats must be stopped before they materialize, Silent Isle is strategic brilliance. If you believe justice requires process, it's assassination disguised as statecraft. Both views hold internal consistency. Neither resolves the central tension. When is prevention worth the cost of the methods required to achieve it? What's your take? Was Miriam's proximity kill justified prevention? Or did turning a flight attendant into an executioner cross a line that undermines the very security it claims to protect? Drop your perspective in the comments. If this operation made you reconsider where strategy ends and ethics begin, hit that like button and share. The next case goes deeper into Cold War Berlin, where one photograph triggered an intelligence war that lasted 30 years.